All right, guys. So last week we started graphing functions. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to talk a little bit about how graphs and functions relate to each other and how to tell very quickly by looking at a graph whether it's a function or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph a function for you guys real quick, and then we're going to go through 5 graphs together. They might be a little bit roughly made, but I want to make sure that you guys can very quickly look at a graph and tell if it's a function. And there's a very easy way to do this. So on your page today, you'll notice that there's 5 questions and there's no question written down for each of them. What that means is I'm going to go through 5 different graphs. And on each graph, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I want you to put down whether it is a function or not a function. And that is what I'm after from you today. So we're going to go over all 5 questions. Let's begin. All right, so question number 1 is actually going to be this function right here. We're going to graph this function to prove that it's a function. So number 1 obviously is yes, it is a function, but I'm going to show you why. Just like last time, we can begin with a t-chart. And as always, I usually take something pretty easy. In this case, I might take 5, 4, and 3. The reason I chose those is because 5 minus 3 is 2, 4 minus 3 is 1, and 3 minus 3 is 0. I know I'm going to keep low numbers that are easy to graph. So on a graph, I could very quickly go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm not expecting perfection, and you guys do not have to draw these. So you don't have to draw this on your separate sheet of paper, but if you'd like to, you can. If I'm plotting these points, just like always, we have an x, and this is my x, and we have a y, and y is up and down. So I go 5 over and 2 up, 5 over and 2 up, 4 over, 1 up, 4 over, 1, 3 over, 0. So here is my function. And technically, it could even go below. That's totally fine. Some functions do go into the negatives. And they go negative this way as well. Hey, that's that coordinate plane we're always talking about. So we have our lovely little function here, and I keep telling you it's a function. One reason I can tell very quickly by looking at it is actually called the vertical line test. Vertical means straight up and down. Remember, every x can only have one y. That means if I point at any spot on this line and go straight up and hit the line one time, it is a function. Let me show you what I mean. This was graph number 1. For number 1, you're going to put yes. Yes, number 1 was a function. Let's work on number 2 together. Graph number 2 is going to look a little bit different. Graph number 2, I'm going to draw looking like this. And here's going to be the craziest part. I don't even have to put numbers on it to tell whether it's a function or not. I'm going to leave this one completely without numbers, and you guys can still answer me. These are my x values, and these are my y values. When I look at this, it honestly does not matter what these numbers are. If I drew a line straight up from any point on this, every single x only has one point on the line that it hits. The domain, each domain, only has one range. Yes, number 2 is a function. All right. So at this point, you've got to be asking yourself, well, what's not a function? We've seen a lot of functions and very few that haven't been. Well, let me give you an example. Here's a scatter plot. And let's say, for example, it's talking about temperatures recorded. You could take the temperature several times on the same day. So day 1, day 2, day 3. Speaking of 3, this is problem number 3. Day 4, day 5. And the temperature that the student was recording, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. So this student was taking temperatures all throughout the day. So on day 1, they recorded it 3 times. On day 2, they recorded it once. On day 3, they recorded it 4 times. They completely forgot on day 4, and then day 5 they came back. I can tell you right now this is not a function, but it's not because it's not a line. You can have ones that don't look like straight lines. The problem is, if I drew a line straight up from any point on the x, does it have exactly 1 y? And the answer is no. Look at day 3 here. There are 4 different answers for 3. Remember how we talked about on a t-chart, 3 can only have 1 possible answer? This one's got 4. So 3 is not a function. So no. Number 3 is not a function. Let's talk about number 4. Number 4, I'm going to do not a t-chart, but a coordinate grid. My cat's looking out the window and fighting it. All right, this one's going to look weird because I'm going to do a curve. Whoosh. So this is actually a quadratic function. This is a parabola. Looks like a smiley face. Is it a function or is it not a function? Well, for every x, is there exactly 1 y? Yeah, it is. This is definitely a function. So number 4, yes. So it can be curves, it can be all sorts of things. As a matter of fact, let's get a really weird one. I'm going to do one that's called a piecewise graph. And this will be the last one, number 5. A piecewise graph is where you have something suddenly cut off and jumps to the next level. Think, for example, human beings that fit into an elevator. You can't have half a human go up a floor. That's just not how it works. Only whole humans go up. So you can have, starting with 1 person, and then suddenly it jumps. This works for a lot of situations. Things where you can't cut stuff in half. Now you'll notice where it's open means that's not an answer. Where it's closed, it means it is. So I look at my x's even without numbers. I can very clearly tell with the vertical line test, 1 answer, 1 answer, 1 answer, 1 answer. Since every vertical line has only 1 outcome, yes, this must be a function. All right, guys. So all I want you guys to do today, write those down to make sure that you watch the video and make sure that it makes sense that a function has for every x value only 1 y. And you can tell that by what's called the vertical line test. All right, I'll see you guys next time.